Hey guys, Mad Dog here, still up in Newport, fighting the rain. But again, a bad day in Newport is better than a good day at work, they say. So we're here today talking about the oversize. Again, this is part of our series about the evolution of the racket and game changers, etc., etc. So this game changer really changed the game forever. This was the Prince Classic, also known as the Prince Greenie. It was the first foray into oversized frames. It was 110 square inches from the outside of the frame. We're told 107 from the inside. It was big. Pam Shriver was well known for this racket. I know Jan Tiriak used this racket. Gene Mayer used this racket originally. It really changed the way the game was played, and with a big racket, all of a sudden things started getting wild and hairy. You had a much bigger place to hit the ball on. The sweet spot was larger. You could hit a little bit firmer. It was very, very interesting. After this guy came out, and again, this was an aluminum version of the racket, so it was soft, it was kind of a thin beam, very flexible, etc., etc. Along comes its older brother, or younger brother, the Prince Graphite. This was a Graphite 110. I believe they made it in a 95 as well, and it was a well-received racket, very highly accepted on the tour, etc., etc. You might remember Michael Chang, guy played with this sucker. It was a really good stick, and a lot of other players that played with it. It did real well. Paul Annacone, Pete Sampras's coach, and now Roger Federer's coach, was a well-known user of this racket. This brought a really rigid frame, stiff, very, very thin beam, or relatively thin beam. And again, the weight started to go down. It got very evenly balanced, became a really, really popular racket, not only on the tour, but on the public courts. Going from there, we got into Wilson, and not only did the racket get big, before I go to Wilson, the third member of that family was the Prince Woody. This is if you needed that touch and feel and comfortable feeling. Okay, the Prince Woody. Again, a little bit heavier, but a fairly well-received racket. So from there, a guy in Germany named Kubler, who got together with the guys at Wilson, came up with a little bit different shape, more of a teardrop, 100 square inch head still, or 105 actually. But look how wide the beam is. Okay? This created a really rigid racket with lots and lots of power. And this was the beginning of the wide beam. This changed the racket because they made something light, or lighter than the Graphite and the oversize, with lots of power. You gave up some control, but again, with a big head size. Light and very maneuverable. Or maneuverable from the baseline, not so maneuverable from up at the net, because it was a little bit head heavy. And the last one of these that we have that's a wide body and that's a little bit bigger size head, 95 square inches, was the Hammer. And this was the beginning of where we started to mess around with weight. We're putting a lot of weight in the head of the racket and a little bit of weight in the handle, making a light racket feel like it was very heavy. Again, still has the wide beam, so between the head heaviness and the wide beam, we're generating a lot of power. So this is part 3, the oversize and the wider beam part of our discussion with the evolution of rackets and some game changers. All right, here we are in Newport at the International Tennis Hall of Fame, a great place for all to visit. We'll talk to you about part 4 in a few minutes.